टेक टू। हेलो ब्रो।
Hi bro, what's up?
फाइनली
Finally, huh?
हम लोग यहाँ पर हैं। फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन मैं करता हूँ, लेट्स स्टार्ट विथ समथिंग वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग विच इज़ बैंकॉक. हाउ इज़ योर एक्सपीरियंस ऑफ working in Bangkok and also living in that culture, because most people have a touristy experience of the city, because obviously it is one of the leading or one topmost visited city in the world. But staying in that city, how's your experience of culture, food, life? How's it like?
It's like the perfect mix of everything. It's not too dull as many of the European country would be.
विच इज़ वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग बिकॉज ये चीज़ मुझे लगती है, जब मैं भी बैंकॉक गया था तो मैं अगर उसको यूएस से इफ़ आई कंपेयर इट, देन यूएस का जो कल्चर और वो सारा एक फर्स्ट वर्ल्ड का जो है, वो एक डलनेस भी है वहाँ पे. एक कल्चरल एस्पेक्ट आपको कुछ सिटीज़ को छोड़ दें तो बहुत कम देखने को मिलता है. बट बैंकॉक के अंदर देर इज़ randomness and that vibrancy of the Asia, and also it has that kind of first worldliness in many sense, in terms of cleanliness, convenience, in terms of टूरिज़म के अंदर भी उनका ए टू बी जाने का जो सिस्टम है. फॉर एग्जांपल, इफ़ आई हैव टू गो फ्रॉम बैंकॉक टू ले कोफंगन, देन वो जो उसका पूरा प्रोसेस है, यहाँ से सूरत थानी, वहाँ से अगर आप कुछ ले रहे हो, वहाँ से आपको क्या बोलते हैं वो लेनी पड़ेगी, फेरी लेनी पड़ेगी, वहाँ से टैक्सी. तो एवरीथिंग इज सो स्ट्रीमलाइंड,
Exactly.
लैक ऑफ स्कैम्स.
Yes.
So I think one could learn a lot from that, from the people, also from the culture, and how to manage tourism,
Exactly.
But specifically in terms of food, it is super duper interesting from that point of view also, that there are many street food stalls that has Michelin stars. So it is also a thing like how this whole process of Michelin star works, and why there are so many Michelin star restaurants in Bangkok.
Well, it has not been a case for a long time. It was very recently that the guide came to the Bangkok. And
Guide as in Michelin star
Michelin
guides.
guide, you have to have a guide in the city, in the country, because there are like restaurants in India probably who have the caliber to get at least 1 star. I feel there are a couple of restaurants, but unless and until the guide is there in the country, you cannot do anything. So they decided to come to Bangkok after doing their analysis, like, oh, the city has potential. They decided to come in, I think 2016 or 17. Then they gave like few stars on one of the only 2-star, not one of the only 2-star restaurant at that time was Gaggan. And then there were like Gaggan was the only 2-star restaurant, and then other ones like 1 star, many 1 stars they gave. And then this city specifically, and it was not always the case that it is known for the fine dining scene. Now it has become probably like one of the top 3 cities in the world, as per my opinion, I feel, in fine dining scene also. But it was not the case always. It was more known for its street food. So it was obvious, even if the Michelin guide is specifically for the fine dining restaurant, fine dining thing scene, but they've come to this place where this unique culture of street food is there. So then, as a probably from the business point of view for the guide, it made sense that they recognize it as well. Because eventually, when the Michelin guide, what history I have read of Michelin guide, it started for the people who travel on the highway.
Yeah, it's a tire company.
It's a tire company.
Not
yeah.
many people know that.
So so they just to sell more, so that people can carry the book and they know like where is the hotels around on the highway, where are the other restaurants. So they understand
India
this.
में फिर ढाबे को मिलना चाहिए.
Yeah, it will. Eventually, I feel.
Why there are no Michelin? Because there is no guide.
There's no
because
guide.
we don't have Michelin star.
We don't have Michelin guide, so it takes time, I think.
But why don't they come? Like they can come. Like what's the problem?
But I mean, what they're gonna do here? There was no like until recent 2-3 years. I don't think so. There was even a single restaurant that was worth of any even 1 star. I don't want to point out anything, but still, I don't think so. Even today, like maybe 1 or 2 star, maybe. There are a couple of restaurants.
Because there is a certain kind of criteria in terms of cleanliness, consistency.
There are like even the stars depends on many things. I don't remember it exactly, but it depends. Like 1 star represents something. Like okay, it's the food is good. It's okay. It's you should visit. And 3 is like worth a detour, that you just visit to the city for that restaurant. If 3 star means that, and it involves many things, not only the food, tasty food. It involves like service, the interior, and lots of many aspects like they take into consideration.
So that is the thing. But you said the word fine dining, and it is also very loosely used in Indian context. So how we understand this term fine dining? What is fine dining?
Fine dining in like refined, no, anything, not only the food. It has to be. And fine dining, as you said, like it is a loosely used word, and it will not be a very specific definition for it. Many fine dinings serve very different kind of food in a very different kind of atmosphere, but still there are like some standards that you need to match. It has to be like of certain standards in a way of your service, and the uniqueness of food, even the preciseness of the food. Consistency doesn't matter much these days. Earlier it used to, like especially the kind of trend that is going on right now, like because it's all about seasonality these days. So they want to use ingredients which are in season. So it's not gonna be the same ingredient even like in a week. The mango is not the same in the week. So if you want to use local and seasonal, it's not gonna be the same. If you want to even be, recently one of the guy I gave a interview, and I was like, for my own project, I was talking to him and I did some food trials with him, and he was like, oh, you want to do this kind of project, so it's not going to be consistent. I like, if you want consistent food, go to McDonald's.
So that consistency element is, especially in the West, and these, like, it is considered as a very big thing. In India, we are a bit loose with it because our idea of using that exact spices is also not there. It's more intuitive cooking.
Yes, that makes Indian cuisine very special in a way, no?
Okay.
And it is, I would say, like the mother cuisines of the world are that way.
Okay.
And in my opinion, mother cuisine of the world would be Chinese cuisine, Indian cuisine, Mexican cuisine.
Mexican.
Yes, Mexican cuisine is very powerful.
But Mexican is considered as a very cheap.
That is Americanized Mexican that you know of. That is a Tex-Mex thing. It's not, Mexicans don't like that. So Mexican food is very rich, very deep. The way I was speaking to you, like how we have exploited the potential of milk, similarly they've exploited the potential of corn to the next level.
A very interesting conversation last night we had, that was about when I asked you that we were discussing about a chef who makes sushi, and there is a certain kind of a craftsmanship in making it. It almost feel like somebody's making a very, very high level art film, and then you said that, then I asked you that which can be the Indian counterpart of that level of craftsman, not that level, but let's say the high level of craftsmanship. And you said that Indian halwai is unique. So why do you think that Indian halwai has that level of craftsmanship?
It is like, not a big fan of Indian sweet because it's too sweet. I don't like it. But the level of artistry, the level of innovation that is there in Indian mithai is unmatchable. No place on the planet Earth have exploited the potential of the milk as much as the halwais of the India have done. It's only 2 ingredients, majorly milk and sugar. And I told you, like, barfi is not similar to rasgulla, no? Texture, if a person from the third culture comes here and I serve him a rasgulla and then I serve him a barfi, he won't be able to tell like they came from the same product. It's so different. We know it, like it's milk. Rasgulla, no, but he won't be able to identify. Rasgulla can be just, it was milk few months before. So in that sense, and there are like how much variations, how much diversity, like with 2 notes, how much music you can create. With 2 alphabets, how much literature you can write. You need at least 10, 12. But here in halwa, you have these
Literally
two.
three ingredients.
Three, maybe. Let's
three, four
two, three. Yeah.
ingredients.
Major is two. Then the alternation keeps on happening. Like sometimes cardamom is there, sometimes fennel is there, sometimes other things are there. But the main note is the sugar and milk. And how much you can create. And it will keep on going. And it keeps on evolving. Even today, they are creating more and more. Every day you go like the places like Rajasthan or Bengal, even like modern Halwais shops that are coming, they keep on experimenting. There are like different things keep on coming. It's endless with just milk. And
even this whole idea of food in many senses is also related to many different kind of art form, if one can look at it. For example, let's say even in the food business, there might be some chef who are this is not a judgment on anybody, I'm just looking at from a different perspective. Like some people are mainstream, they cater to the mainstream taste, like there are many chefs like Ranveer or like I can name, they are more mainstream, and then there are chefs who want to experiment with their cuisine because they are more inspired by, let's say, music. Even some are inspired by films and they want to create a certain kind of an experience through that. So even in this field there is lot of influence with the art, and one can look at it from that field, that
similar
perspective
to
also.
any art form, like similar. Like I probably told you about the project that I did, Project Synesthesia, where I took paintings of modern Indian painting, few artists after independence, and then interpreted those paintings and those artists into the food. 7 courses, 10 courses, 7 paintings. So the idea came about because when I visited these galleries in India, especially in Delhi, this modern art gallery, yes. So I visited that and I saw same patterns. What is happening? What they were doing. So these guys, after independence, they were trying to find the true Indian identity. And they were exploring all kind of genres, all directions, everybody. And none of them are wrong. Similarly, none of them are wrong. Like in chefs, M.F. Hussain is very different. He was taking inspiration from Picasso. He's called like Picasso of India, no? So that doesn't make him wrong. He's one of the greatest, no?
Yeah, his
and
cubism was his thing, yeah.
And then you have Amrita Shergill.
Yeah,
such
completely
young,
different.
It's completely different. Such young talent, and she's also taking inspiration from European art. Then you had like this Bengali school, Jamini Roy. He rejected everything European. He's like, I'm not gonna even use brush. So he was just using like he's making his own brush and painting on the wood card, and he was taking the inspiration from this Kali paintings. So he was making that flat, not even 3-dimensional paintings he was making. So they were all trying to figure it out, and somehow the culmination of it is still continuing. And that is the same thing in food also. That's why I was like very intrigued to do this project, because I found same parallels. When I was young, I used to like judge these chefs, but now I see like, okay, they have all contributed at certain point. Some people are doing very mainstream. They just take like up the cuisine and they just make biryani,
make it like
even outside, and as it is, even like elevated, keep improving that. And some are like just breaking it all. So sometimes at certain point I was like, oh, they are ruining the classics. They are ruining the authentic. What is ruining?
There is nothing called authentic. First
if they don't, yeah, exactly. If they don't ruin the authentic, the new authentic will not be created.
Yeah.
No. So that is one way. And some was looking to the French side, some was looking to the Spanish side, some were looking inside, and they were still. So this is the same parallel that I found in the modern art and the chefs today. Like all these chefs, I'm not gonna name any of them, but all of them like in different ways. Some are in US, some are in London, some are in India, some are in Asia, Bangkok, Japan, and they are trying to find this identity. And their goal is this: no, what is Indian cuisine? This is Indian cuisine. Indian cuisine is great, but they all have great intention. They are trying to represent India. They are trying to represent the cuisine of the India, and they want to take it to that level where French cuisine or Italian cuisine or Japanese cuisine today is. And everybody knows, like, it's a fact, like, not because I am Indian, every chef knows, like, Indian cuisine is one of the greatest cuisine in the world, in the range and the depth it has. So how to refine it, how to present it, and so everybody is using their own.
Why people consider French cuisine as one of the best? Is there any logic, a
It's
special reason to that?
I won't say like it's one of the first revolutions that happened in the culinary history, that started taking cooking to be a novel art form where it was respected. Even India is still in the process, no? Like my family is okay, but like distant relative are like still, oh, he's just a chef, he's a cook. My son is a doctor. For them it's that.
Yeah.
But France was the first place where it was, the profession was respected, and they started organizing it, classifying it. So they documented it. They started writing recipes. They started honoring chefs, and they made the system. The one of the very first system is called brigade system. One of the classical chef is called Escoffier. So he wrote the brigade system, like we should have hierarchy in the kitchen, like because he was from army. So he kind of gave structure, and then they started making this very refined fine dining version of the food for the elites, for the all these aristocrats back in the days. So from there this notion started coming in, like the refinement. If you have to cook food at that level, it has to be French. You have to learn French techniques. And they were exploring more aspects to refine the food and make it more technical in many ways. That's why. Otherwise, like from taste wise, if you ask, like my personal point, I don't like French so much. I would rather eat Italian. I would rather eat Mexican. No,
Same. That's why I asked.
yeah, exactly. But they have contributed a lot
in a different way.
In a different way. No, and it has tasty food also. It is just, it's a very different.
I think bakery. I think they do very well.
Yeah, pastry is great. And even in sauces and all these things, they brought about the revolution. No?
And you were also telling me about, there are many kind of work which are happening. Like, there are many things which I never heard before. Like you were saying that there is a most in thing right now is the fermentation techniques. What is that which is right now the in thing among the fine dining all over the world?
So like in any of the industry at this moment, be it fashion industry, be it textile industry, footwear industry, you take anything, no, the main aspects, because one of the biggest challenges climate change, no, and then sustainability has become a center point of all the talks that are happening. So out of that, this idea of sustainable food was born, and in that effort, this revolution happened in Nordic region in Europe. Like after France, and the biggest revolution that happened in Europe in culinary was happened in Nordic region, which is like the driest. There is nothing. They don't have anything. It's like seeker of your Rajasthan. They don't have anything. Only Kir Sangri kind of situation. But they started applying all this. First of all, they applied this without like probably not knowing, but they applied this very artistic idea that is called ulipo. If you know, ulipo is the idea where you impose restrictions on yourself. Italo Calvino, you know, the writer.
Italo Calvino, yeah.
So Italo Calvino, and there were some writers. They came along and they said like, okay, you are truly free when you have the restriction that is imposed by yourself. If you make boundaries, you can be truly free in that boundary. If this boundary does not exist, you're lost. So they started experimenting. So their restrictions was to be like, okay, I'm going to write a novel in which every sentence would be of 3 words. Or I'm going to write a novel which will not use a vowel O or U. So that kind of like restrictions and different restrictions. Yeah. So they applied this ulipo, these Scandinavians, where they said like, oh, our restriction is we just gonna, because as if now, even today, the greatest, one of the factors that is considered for fine dining and great food is how niche your ingredient is, how luxurious, how exotic your ingredient is. Like serving caviars, oysters, champagne,
truffle mushroom,
truffle, that makes it fine dining. But Nordic said, okay, we're gonna restrict ourselves. We don't have caviar. We don't have, they have their caviars now, but we don't have if these things we're not gonna use unless and until it grows in this boundary of our Nordic region. We'll not use that. So through that restriction, a lot of development came because they had this restriction, so they couldn't got so much taste also, no, because they didn't have the spices, they didn't have the, so they found this fermentation technique inspired from Japan especially, and all this
Japan has
Asia.
lot of fermentation technique.
Mother of fermentation, I still feel, is China, but it is still untapped and explored.
Soy sauce is also a product of that.
Soy sauce, I think, came from China, and then it kept on spreading, and then Japanese have refined it to the next level, and even Korea. So they started applying this fermentation technique where they would take like simple ingredients, like soy sauce is made with the soybean, or similar product is miso. So it is nothing. It is like they have domestication of animals that we've been doing, which is very visible. So these countries, these cultures have been doing the domestications of bacteria for centuries. So they know their bacteria. There is a like bacteria which is very the basis of Japanese cuisine. It's called koji, and it has become like trend. Every other restaurant who wants to open a restaurant, they start throwing just word koji. Koji, say koji, you are fancy. Yeah, you're fancy restaurant. So it has become this catchphrase, like these things. Koji, fermentation, all of that. This has become a catchphrase without understanding the context, why they applied and why we shouldn't apply, or why we should apply these things. Doing it out of context doesn't make sense. So even many Indian restaurants, local restaurants, everybody is doing that. So I don't know if it makes sense or not. So for them it made sense because they learned this just by using that bacteria. They can make such a simple, like soybean is not tasty like when it's soybean, it's just a boiled rajma, no, in a way. What is, like, if you eat rajma without putting spices, salt, what is that? It's nothing. But if you ferment it with that bacteria,
But fermentation happens with the bacteria. Bacteria are created in it.
so you have to introduce bacteria.
Okay.
Sometimes there are types of fermentations. One is called aerobic fermentation, which happens through the airborne bacteria, like our curd yogurt. So lactobacillus, it's a fermentation. The bacteria is right now, it's on our skin also. So that does the job. And sometimes you want a specific strain to do the specific job. Not all animal does the same job. So this specific mold, even bacteria, molds. So especially koji is a mold. So you want that mold. The sake is made from that mold. And similarly, your miso is made from that mold. So if they put that mold, which is called koji, on the rice, it keeps on eating rice, and it turns into an alcohol. Every fermentation, there are two byproducts, sugar and alcohol. Sugar it eats, and it turns sugar into sourness, acid. So, and then alcohol is created. So now all this manipulation comes in, like to what level you want to go, what permutation combination. They were doing it with the rice. So this Nordic started doing with barley because they didn't have the rice in their country. They had the barley, and they found something new, something interesting. They in Asia they had the soybean, so they made soy sauce. They didn't have soybean. They had like lentils, local lentils. They applied in that. They created their own version of misos, and they went even further. It always happens, no, in all the art form and industries. Like the major breakthrough comes from the people and people who are from the outside of the industry, because they see from a different perspective, and they can bring it something without hesitation. So that what happened there also. So they have started applying these bacteria on meats also. So they started creating sauces through meats, which are like great in umami and this flavor that we humans crave a lot, which is like meaty flavor, which we call, no?
In fact, fermentation has been the technique in many states as well in India. For example, in Rajasthan, we cook this thing called rabdi. I mean, whenever you used to drink it, like you instantly fall asleep. Then later I realized there might be some alcohol in that.
Even your kanji.
Huh?
Kanji is alcohol.
Yeah. Even in the southern part, there are many.
That has been like, I need to study still, and there is like so little documented things around culinary, and it's very like all of the books that you have, like there is nothing like proper. It's like recipes straight up. There is no historical data. There is no research based major things. So I wanted to study the history and the ideas of fermentation in India. There is one book, there is one guy, professor, who's been writing, and especially in the Himalayan region, in this mountain region. And these are the methods of preservation. They came out like all the cooking, all the art happens out of necessity, no, especially like food. So because their conditions of livings are so harsh, they need to find the ways to preserve their food. So through that, fermentation comes in handy, drying comes in handy if you ferment it, because the level of acidity grows and it doesn't go bad. The harmful bacteria doesn't attack your food. That is what happens now. If you leave milk, it will go bad, but if you leave curd outside, it will not go bad.
Yeah, but also it's in Indian cuisine. One of the thing I don't understand is there is a absolute lack of protein. For example, even in Rajasthan cuisine that we eat, I don't know how we are surviving. There is no protein.
That is very,
how
very
we are
it's
surviving. I don't know.
wrong. Yeah, we are not surviving, man. We are like struggling. Like
I mean, it's strange. There is no protein.
You see the health data of Indians, it's not very healthy.
Yeah,
we only consume carbs.
carbs.
all day,
That's
like
it. Carbs, and
like
also romanticize it for the nostalgia.
Yeah. And in the name of protein, dal is protein.
Dal is
Bro,
protein,
dal,
which
there
is
nothing.
biggest fake news.
Fake news. Yeah, it's nothing. So it is one of the challenge. Yeah.
एक Indian cuisine को समझने के लिए there is a lot of complexity in saying that this is Indian or this food is Indian, because it's very, very
This
complex.
is one of the biggest agenda of my life. Like, I want to solve this mystery. I cannot solve. It's always misrepresented. All the wrong answers in the air. Because like you ask, like, simple question: what is Indian cuisine? Oh,
Mango lassi,
the
paneer tikka
answer is
masala,
simple. No,
which
answer.
is
The true
not
answer
even
is the true answer to this question is there is no Indian cuisine. That is the answer. There are cuisines of India. There is no Indian cuisine. There is no national language of India. There are languages of India. Similarly, there is no Indian cuisine. You cannot say like it is only. I was talking to your friend earlier that is the thing. Like, only selected people, like from all realm, from social circle, from economical, from even regional, have got the chance to represent India. From socially, the reasons in India we know, no? The elite clubs, the upper caste, upper class, they got the chance to go out. They had the language, they had the scrap power. Because of that, economically, because they could afford to go out and speak, they could afford to take the mic, take the stage and speak. Even regionally, it happened. Like, only this specific region, like, okay, in north, because they are wealthy already, this Punjabi region, let's say north of India, they were economically good, no, because all this green revolution happened and they got good money and they started going out. So it is not deliberately, but it is their, whatever you call, narrow worldview. Because if I live in a fucking room and I think this is my home, but this is the world, like kuएं का मेंढक, no? So this is the world. So that is what happened. And they go out and they were doing nice things. They wanted to represent their culture. But the only bad that happened, because they said like, this is the India. This is the Indian cuisine. I come from India. You come from a part of India, and that too is like from very sub district of India, and that too you're just reflecting what you have seen, what you have grown up eating around, and you are claiming it to be Indian. And that has happened with Indian food for the longest time, that very specific people from the culture, from the social class, from the
Caste.
economic class, caste class, they went out and they represented. So that is what happened. Like, if people ask like, oh, what is the most least representative cuisine of India? Bro, there is endless. But if you want to reiterate your question, what is the overrepresented cuisine of India? That is Punjabi. I love Punjabi food. I don't hate it. It's nice. It's
But
okay,
it's
great. But it's like
monopolized. Like
it
this is
doesn't make
not the single
it
identity
doesn't
of
make
Indian cuisine. Yeah.
it is like I even wrote up on a nice Instagram post long time ago, and everybody shared it like, oh, Indian cuisine is like a ship of Theseus, man. There is no true identity. It's a constant evolution. It keeps on moving, and because our brains cannot fucking understand it, cannot take it, how fast it moves, how much dimension it has. So we start imposing whatever we have the ability, whatever the language we have, we start imposing on it, which is not true. It is a true sip of Theseus case, Indian cuisine.
The
There is no,
philosophical ship,
yes,
not the film. Yeah.
not the film.
That would mean the Indian cuisine is bad.
Yeah, that is,
Okay.
yeah. So, yeah, so there is no Indian cuisine. And there are many, like from all the aspects, again, cuisines has been underrepresented. Like when I traveled to, when I was in India, in working in hotels, so I was like really, really passionate. I wanted to do great things with Indian cuisine, whatever resources I had, and even time. So I would travel, like whenever I get like 5 days off, 10 days off, I would go to different regions. If I was in Rajasthan, I would go to like the places in Rajasthan that nobody goes. Let's go there, see things. So in one of those endeavors, I went to Northeast. I don't know. I don't even remember 2015 or 16. I did 3 states: Nagaland, Assam, and Meghalaya. Bro,
Insane.
the difference of food. It's great. It's tasty. Tasty is Punjabi also. I'm not gonna reject Punjabi. I love Punjabi food. It's tasty. It's great. But the difference, when you say Indian cuisine, like one of the most common thing that people associate, like, oh, one of the symbol of Indian cuisine is spices. Nagaland doesn't use any spice. There is no chili powder. There is no jeera
Even
powder.
in Assam, there are many
Yeah.
cuisine.
There
They
is
use
no-
green chili instead
Yeah,
of.
there is no chili
yeah,
powder. There is no jeera. There is no garam masala.
Yeah.
So, do you call that Indian cuisine or no? It is still Indian cuisine.
Yeah.
It is. It is as much Indian cuisine as Punjabi cuisine, as Bengali cuisine, as Mughlai cuisine, as Avdi cuisine is. It is also Indian cuisine. So, but it lacks your element, the definition of Indian cuisine. Like Indian cuisine consists of spices, heat, and complexity. So, very simple food.
And
Naga
tandoori
food.
roti. Yeah.
Naga food is simple food. They smoke their pork, they grill it. They smoke their pork, they put their fermented bean paste, they make a stew. It's fucking simple but great, amazing. There is no unnecessary complexity. No, so that doesn't make it Indian cuisine. So I mean, on and in this effort, this is very very recent trend, and all these chefs that get the opportunity again, and now they want to appropriate their own culture. That happens so with us. So they go like, oh, they start visiting tribes and they start posting video like how we spend time in Naga cuisine and this is the Naga food. So it's better let the Naga people come out. You give them space a little bit. Let them speak for their food. No, what you know, okay, give it respect. Bring those people.
How
then-
can chef do chef be more aware and give that recognition to the local people instead of just appropriating that? Maybe be more
It's the
vocal about
self-awareness,
it.
man. It's the self-awareness. You have to be like, because when you do these things, you are not doing it by knowing that, oh, I'm gonna appropriate that thing. You are doing a great job in your head. You are doing a favor to them in your head. So unless until you reflect and you are self-aware,
Change that
you are
attitude.
smart enough to understand, reflect on your own action, you cannot bring change. You cannot unappropriate anything. Otherwise, you are doing a great job. You are representing the untapped cuisine of India, the poor of India. You are giving them the chance, no, like making poor tribal people's movie without
Giving
like-
them credits or yeah.
nothing. So it's the same patterns in art, in films, in cooking.
There is lot similarity.
Same
There is
paradox,
many
same paradox.
similarity. Even so, once I did this meditation course and I started cooking after that. I don't know why, because I started loving cooking. So the one thing I realized when I was cooking is like, it is so much similar to filmmaking. For example, there is a recipe I paste on my kitchen that this is how dal is made. Okay, there is a recipe, but one person will make it entirely different than the other person, even though the recipe is there.
Exactly. And when I was
Because
in
this is called the touch, personal
when
touch.
I was in college, when I just finished my college, so we used to have like kitchen club. So I was one of the senior members, and we were like 5, 6 senior members, and we were passing out. So last day we were taking a meeting of our juniors, and everybody was speaking by turn by turn. And when my turn came, I said like very cheesy. When I look at it now, it was very cheesy and thing to say, but at that time it sounded to me like, oh wow, what a great thing I said. So I told them it still makes sense, but it was like too cheesy, romanticized. I told them, if you, my only message to you guys as a kid is, you be nice when you're working in kitchen. Don't think like you wanna beat this person next to you and you wanna play games, you wanna get ahead of this guy and this guy. Leave that out. Unless and until you are not being nice, you are not being honest, you cannot cook great food. And I gave them this example. Like if you go to Gurdwara, because my college is in Chandigarh, you get this kada prasad, no, halwa. It's amazing. It's so tasty, bro. So tasty, amazing. You cannot deny that, no. And as I told them, you bring the same ingredient and you make it at home. It will never turn out the same. Why? Because that guy is putting his faith in it. No, it's very romantic. It's very spiritual bullshit
Maa ka
sounds.
pyar and all that.
Yeah, it
thing.
sounds that, but
It
is,
has some element
because
to that.
no, I
To
mean
that.
it has like practicality also. No, he is very serious for this because he's afraid, he's scared also. No, so he's very serious around that.
It's a
And
godly thing.
yeah, so he's putting all his efforts, all
And
his,
most possibly good ingredients.
yeah, good ingredient as well. So it has all the aspects. And so it is exactly same thing. Same people can make totally different food with the same ingredient, with the same recipe. It is always because one element you put your soul after all the ingredients into the food.
And how is the, like in the kitchen, how is this situation, especially the kitchen of such big restaurants? Uh, like there are many stories, horror stories about it, like the kitchen politics.
Fine dining kitchens, kitchen politics is one of the most toxic workplace. Like you see all these movies, and there is just this season, no, The Bear. It reflects true scenarios of the fine dining kitchen. Even like these regular kitchens in India, like hotels kitchen, because the workload is such, and it is not a very rewarding industry. No, it the margins are not great, so you have to work extra hard. It's like, and you are underpaid sometime and you're working over. So sometimes people are working like really hard, like 12 is minimum, and sometimes people work like 18 hours even in the great restaurants.
18 hours.
Yeah, and that messes their brains, that makes them frustrated, that makes them angry, and they start, and the pressure that they have to sustain this level of artistry, this level of cuisine, and then the pressure they have from the economic point of view to make sure that it keeps on going. It builds up lots of anger and frustration, and it starts coming out into the kitchen. It becomes very toxic. People start shouting and all this. It happens very commonly in many kitchens around the world, but I don't know like how the kitchen I'm working in is.
फिर वो
Bro,
तीखा खाना बनाते हो.
I'm not gonna,
तीखा खाना बनाते हो.
I'm not being biased, but it is, bro, the kitchen I'm working.
You're
But
Gaggan.
it should be the case study how he managed to create this exact opposite of the kitchen culture that you see around the world. It is like, I wanted to open my restaurant like very soon, like 2 years back. I wanted to do it, but since I've joined him, this is the greatest working period of my life, and I think it is like in any industry you'll take it. You should fucking study how he managed to create this. It's so happy, it's so healthy. Like I haven't been to the kitchen for like 4 days. If I'm here, I start missing being there. I love it so much. The cooking is a fun job, of course, but when it becomes industry, it becomes like tiring for most of the people. But somehow he has broken that thing. It is still like fun job. You enjoy your
And
cooking.
how many people work there in the kitchen?
It depends like where, what kind of kitchen is this. In my kitchen, we have like 10 permanent chefs. Then we get interns, 3, 4, sometimes so 14, and then there are other staffs. So maybe 20 for 14. This is a 14 seats restaurant. His restaurant is 14 seats.
1-4.
1-4, yes.
How much is the price for one seat?
It's I think Let's not say that.
I mean,
It's in the
and
website, bro. You check it
website.
there.
How much the whole idea of performance in the recent time have become a part of the cooking. I'm saying in a very loose term, not I'm like not really about your restaurant or anything. Like in generally, there is like a chef will come and then he will perform something like that guy Nusrat. What's his name?
Ah, yeah, yeah.
Salt Bay.
Salt Bay.
So like he started this trend, and then there are many people who perform
It is
for the customer. This
one of the reason, like I think it is with the progress of the technology and things also. No, that is
it's
the
more
part of it.
Instagrammable.
It's more Instagrammable.
Yeah.
It's more visible.
Yeah.
Earlier it was just a secluded art. Now you go there and you see a museum, you come back. Now even museum you wanna go and you wanna post. So museums are making an effort to make their museum more worthy of that. So similarly, restaurants are making their restaurant more worthy of visibility, even because it's not only Instagram that they want money, they want views. It is related to economy. The more they are visible, the more they are in the eye, and the more seats they sell. And there are like a lot of competition, so they have to come out of this thing. And especially, I feel, and this is one of the things that I've been thinking, because as you've been speaking, form to find your form. So for me, I think my formula, as if now for form, I think in any art, if you want to do that art really great, you have to go out of that art and bring something from the outside into that art. Then only you, if you want to become a great photographer, come out of the photography, do other things, bring something to it.
Yeah, that's true.
That is true. So similarly in the cooking also, I keep on telling people, if you have hobbies, if you have interest, try bring those things. Don't just become this nerd of like
interconnectedness is very important,
and then
like,
only you will be able to create something new.
Yeah.
Otherwise, tasty food, how tasty can you make?
And what is tasty?
What is tasty? Yes. What
It
level?
also depends on how the
subjective.
taste is consumed also. For example,
Yeah.
somebody is addicted to a certain kind of food, doesn't want to try, then how they will understand the subtlety of, let's say, a Naga cuisine, a North Indian.
Yeah.
They're not going to, most people not going to appreciate it,
Yes,
because
exactly.
they'll say it's very bland.
Yeah.
But it's not bland. It
It is
has a
great,
flavor.
yeah,
It's
it
just
has-
that our tongue is
Like
ruined by too
many
many
Indians will
masalas.
reject Japanese food, no?
Yes,
Japanese food
Kacha
is
hai wo
like
to.
that's fucking next level. There is no level of it. Like the level of artistry, the level of
Artistry is, even you see them
the
cooking
taste, yeah,
a dish, it
the
is
understanding,
yeah,
the
yeah.
craftsmanship. Like they are just cutting one slice of fish, and how many years they have dedicated into cutting that slice, to which angle, when they hold it, which finger, what temperature of their body is, from which angle they hold the fish. They think so much about it, and we will just reject it. No, well, it's raw, it's not tasty even. How can I eat? It is tasty, man. It is next level tasty, but we are not ready for it.
Is ramen also very complicated cuisine?
Ramen is not so complicated, but it is more of a common people's food. Right?
Really?
Yeah,
In India, it's a gourmet.
it is gourmet.
But it's a common people's food.
Common people's food, and it is supposed to be eaten very quickly, like for the office, like corporates.
Really?
So yeah, you go there in the ramen shops, and they in even like most of the great best ramen shops in Japan, you will not find. Like what I've studied, I've visited Japan only once, so I cannot speak so much. But what I've studied in ramen books when I studied the history, it is like you go there, you don't talk to chefs even. There are machines, like you put your choice, tuck tuck tuck, you get your ticket, you go there, it gets served to you, and you eat quickly. You go. It is like
You
that.
know, somebody opened a ramen ka thela in Warsaw, Mumbai. Initially, people thought like, ramen ka thela kaise, now it makes sense in some, although he might not be making that great ramen, but it makes sense. Like it is.
And then you always have a version of anything like that who refines it. So some people refines it, they take it to the next level, they make very limited
Even
number.
these food like lobster, even beef, they were the very common food, not like
lobster was a prison food, man.
prison
Nobody used
food.
to eat.
Yeah. In
Now-
fact, there is a. If I'll recommend one essay, it's called David Foster's essay. Consider the lobster. Yeah, consider the lobster. And he just goes to a lobster festival, and there is a very long essay he writes about that. It's super duper interesting. So that's how I discovered about how it is. So one thing which I found very interesting was about sometime you get better food in the foreign countries than in India. For example, I had um, one soup in New York, some Hyderabadi soup, mutton soup, and I think that's one of the best mutton soup I had in my life. I never had such kind of soup in India too. Why is it like? Why some kind of Indian food tastes so great outside?
I mean, it also like the quality of ingredients, number one thing. If your base is like, if your instrument is great, if your basic alphabets are great, so that happens. And most of the good quality ingredients, especially the spices, are exported now.
अच्छा वो इंडिया से उनको
Yeah, so the
जाते हैं.
best export quality goes outside.
अच्छा
So
we
and
are
then they use even the best produce that they get. Their farming is much refined. They have like better seafood, and maybe we have better seafood. Maybe we have, but we don't have this, what do you call, infrastructure built, because there is a, how you treat it as soon as it comes out of the
yes,
water.
that
No,
preserve thing. Yeah.
no, how do you treat it? Like in Japan, they don't sell you the fish. They don't give you like the, if you go to the market, they ask who you are, what you gonna do with that. They know you, they know the chef. He goes personally, oh, you are taking for this chef. They will then only give you, because farmers, they respect their ingredient. Here it's like you go to Bombay. I was like in this illusion, like, oh, I want to do also local produce sustainable thing in India. I was trying to talk to people and try to open my restaurant in India. And therefore I went to like Sasun Talk in Bombay, that, oh, I will procure local fish. Bro, it's horrible. It's a horror story. Like, fishes are out and it's like in the sun, on the road with the mud and everything. People are walking on the fishes, like crushing it, and it's dirty. The flies are all around it. Then only one thing remains, that is to just deep cook the
Deep fry.
f out of it. So there is nothing left of its true essence. You add essence to it through outside
Outside
material.
yeah,
So
cooking.
that is also like, it is also out of necessity that Indian cuisine was born, I think, I feel, over the period of time, because we don't have like as refined ingredients as Japanese have. No,
Exactly.
we
For example,
not.
I'll tell you one good example of it. Like the mutton, quality of mutton in Rajasthan, which we used to get. Lal mas is a very new thing and it's a very Rajputana style, and not all community really consume lal mas in the similar way, which is like a lot of chilies. We used to cook it like it's slightly bland, like very less oil, very less masalas, and the real taste you get was of the mutton, like from my childhood. So that was like, it was so good, like the whole mutton taste, and we don't need to add anything to that. But recently, when the mutton quality gone down, everybody is just putting chili masala, tail chili, garam masala. So it changed completely. Now you don't get the mutton taste.
Exactly. So, but everything has a pros and cons.
Yeah.
So because of this, the quality of ingredients not being so great, in a way, we never got like such refined cuisine as Japanese. But fortunately, we discovered and invented these human ingenuity, finding these techniques over the period of time to take this very basic, mediocre, below average ingredient and make something great out of it by bringing something from the outside. Like, okay,
For example,
chilies,
gobi Manchurian.
gobi Manchurian.
It's a very interesting
Yeah,
experiment.
it is experiment.
Like
Yeah.
personally the worst vegetable.
Yeah,
They
I'm not a
made
fan.
something very
I'm not a
interesting
fan.
out
Even
of it.
like chicken tikka, it has become common, but
Yeah.
it's a very
Yeah, yeah.
shitty. Like, chicken has no taste. This
No
chicken,
taste. Like outside,
but
I don't feel
how-
like eating chicken.
Yeah, but
Whenever
the
I go.
kind of marination they ended up creating,
yeah.
like this set of spices, the yogurt base, and even how to refine that yogurt, hung it, or do something with it, add a little bit of mustard oil to it. Don't become like, I want to criticize as much as this commercial aspect of Bollywood Punjabi cuisine, but it is tasty, bro.
It is tasty.
It is.
Sometimes
It is
you
super duper.
crave
If
for
you
that.
if you get a good chicken tikka,
Chicken
you
tikka
cannot,
le gaya,
you cannot like
ek
just,
butter
no,
chicken,
I don't,
butter naan
I'm
laga de,
anti chicken
lassi
tikka.
laga de.
I'm anti chicken tikka. You cannot say that. It's fucking great. So this is the human ingenuity that we have developed as a cuisine, and this is the parallels we have with Mexican cuisine. They don't have like as such any great ingredients. Also,
It's also intuition based.
yeah, very intuitive. Yeah,
There is a lot of similarity.
yeah, a lot of similarity.
That's why when I went to US, people said that whenever you miss Indian food, just go to a Mexican place, because
Yeah.
Indian food is not so great in US mostly. So they said
My best friend in Bangkok is a Mexican guy. So we like talk a lot about like our food, and we find like a lot of common grounds, many things, even when we cook. And anytime like when I cook his when I used to cook the mutton from Rajasthani lal mas kind of mutton also, but my version, or even your Rogan Josh. So you would say, oh, this is birya. Birya is their own preparation where they use the chili paste, a lot of it, and with the goat. Oh, this is birya. And then they cook mutton or any meat under the ground with the charcoal, like tandoor kind of situation, barbacoa. So there are many similarities.
Even rajma, the use of rajma.
Yeah, kidney beans. That is a very interesting concept, bro, which is very unique to this civilization, the rajma thing, because that came out of indigenous knowledge around sustainability. They called it milpa. It is a technique where when they grow the corn, it takes a lot of, I don't clearly remember, nitrogen, I think, from the soil. So it weakens the soil. And to make it strong, they, to recover the lost nitrogen, they grow around other crops. And these are called sister crops. With the corn, they grow pumpkin, squash, and the beans. So that is just to help the soil to retain its nutritional value, because what it does, the beans and the pumpkin, they draw the nitrogen from the air and restore this thing. And because of that necessary to maintain the soil condition, these three ingredients are there. So they started working alongside. So it's always like taco made with corn has beans served on side. So it is out of that necessity.
We have little time, so that would be my final question about like you come from a very different caste location and from a very different space from what most chefs are in this industry, and you said a very interesting point about how to pick up very interesting detail from the Indian food and make something beautiful out of it rather than just using your cultural thing that you are grown up with. So you do have personally plan of
course.
exploring more and giving more like the Indian thing which are more unexplored.
Because of my lack of privilege, I earned another privilege, that I got time. I got more. I couldn't get the conventional start. No? So I kept on exploring, kept on finding ways to further my journey. And that effort of furthering my journey, I kept on finding different forms also. Like I'm working with one of the greatest chefs India and the world has ever produced. It's just because my journey got delayed. I wanted to open my restaurant before joining him. But after just working with him, my perspective to look at the food has changed. It has shifted in a way. But I also look at the past I used to look. And the thing, because all these people have this very common story, you know, all the great chefs, they were like, oh, my mom used to cook the best food. This is my grandmom's recipe. Bro, my grandmom has the trouble to bring food at home, no? So I didn't have like great recipes for my grandmom. She used to make a really mediocre food. It used to be tasty. I used to like it. But now that I look back, it is nothing like that. I want to do anything with it because there was a lack of like even proper oil. There was a lack of even proper sugar.
Yes, no masala.
No masala at all. So I cannot look in the direction where everyone was looking. So I have this
New
opportunity.
That, new frame of reference.
That I have to look, and I don't know where to look. So I look everywhere for a certain time. I look into the unconventional spaces. That is why I look to the art. Maybe how I can turn it into, take inspiration from it and bring it to food. Look into the literature even cinema. How I can. And I was talking to Prabdeep, no? And we came to this thing like my project's in Asia. Let's do this with the hip hop. And he started this, and I was like, bro, this is mind-boggling. That this is my project already going on, and I want to keep it lifelong. Projects in Asia, where first I did with the art, where combining of the senses, how paintings taste. Let's make next how hip hop tastes.
We'll be definitely looking forward to that. And I remembered my grandma's cooking. I don't know. It was quite bad actually. A lot of water and spices.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, I don't have a bullshit story, man. I love my mom so. My mom cooked very good mutton.
Mother cooks
my
mom
cooked very
But so that's the thing when one grows up in that.
I love my grandma so effort. She used to put a lot of effort and she used to make gulab jamun. But I used to like even as a kid struggle like it is like tight inside. how can I eat this gulab jamun?
Yeah.
No?
So that's a very different kind of a grandma's cuisine.
Right.
Anyway, so
Yeah.
super. So it was a wonderful talk, and discussing about the food is always interesting, but discussing it with someone who has so much of experience is so rewarding for me, and I'm 100% sure for the viewers, for the listeners. So thank you so much for coming to this podcast and sharing your journey with me. Really grateful.
It's
Thank
my
you.
pleasure, Anurag. Thank you so much for inviting me. And hopefully it is just a start, and we'll get to do more discussions. And
Let's do
journey
next time
furthers.
in Bangkok.
Yes,
let's do
it in next. Yeah. All right.
Super.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you.
Thank you.